I think in all of the written assessments, there's a kind of common desire to have students master a certain vocabulary and develop a precision in the way they use that vocabulary, and also learn how to engage in a conversation, in a particular disciplinary conversation. So I think good academic writing is writing where the student is able to kind of maintain a position and a voice within a broader conversation that they're engaging with rigorously, proper citation of sources. So it's also these mechanical elements that are really difficult to learn, you know, the moves between your ideas and someone else's ideas, and how to properly cite someone else's ideas. And you know, I think again, when you're learning a discipline and the language within that discipline, I think students often tend to be either really vague in their language, or using it, kind of overusing certain phrases or words that they've heard, and in ways that aren't always clear. And so I think precision and clarity is something that I really look for in academic writing. And then there's just the mechanics, what it looks like on the page. You know, formatting. Where does the title go? Where does the name and date go? Or the double spacing, the bibliography. You know, all of those things. General academic voice is more formal than everyday spoken language. But then across disciplines and across genres within disciplines, there are also different voices that you use. So if they're writing a bio for LinkedIn, they'll use a different voice than if they're writing a professional bio for a gallery. Or you know, if they're writing a proposal, obviously, you know, who's your audience? Is it a funder? Is it you know, collaborator, potential collaborator? So a voice and audience go hand in hand, and then voice and genre. And then authority is something that is, I think, a little bit more abstract and generalizable. So authority is about feeling as though you can speak about a subject, or you know, has not necessarily an equal, but that you're speaking with confidence and competence and belief in what you're saying. And that, yeah, so I think that authority entails those kinds of competence and confidence elements. Nobody is born knowing academic English or any academic language. And so learning how to speak with a level of formality and a kind of decorum, where you're engaging with sources and, you know, critics and scholars in a way that acknowledges multiple perspectives on a topic. And so I think there's a careful balance between independent thinking and engaging in a conversation that has been going on for a long time before a student has entered it. And so you know, maintaining their authorial voice within a broader scholarly conversation is a really tricky thing, I think, for undergraduates, because of course you're learning from these sources, these critics that you're reading, but you're also in conversation with them, so you have to kind of maintain your own voice within this kind of what can be an intimidating conversation, you know, with a vocabulary that you're just trying to get a handle on. As undergraduate writers, they are learning they're learning concepts, they're learning how to articulate and use these concepts and develop their own ideas about them and positions around them. And they struggle with not being able to articulate that in their kind of idiomatic everyday language. It's formal, it has a certain vocabulary, a certain way of phrasing things that is not, you know, you don't make absolute statements, you don't shut down other opinions. It's a kind of very almost archaic form of conversation where you're being very kind of gracious and yet still very, very firm in staking your claim. So again, for undergraduates, it's difficult because they know they're speaking to, professional critics and scholars, or speaking with, and so they tend to let those voices obscure their own, rather than trying to just, raise the level of their discourse and or their language, and even though it likely seems quite artificial, and it is artificial or strained for them, to elevate their language and use a more formal tone is a way of kind of, I guess, owning that that kind of authority.